It's good to be home. It's strange to think I have 3 kids born in Minnesota. We live in Ohio, but now I'm home. And you can always go home. And what brings us back here every year are friends and family. And the shore. And Pika's Pizza. But mostly friends and family. When I got hired in Cleveland, at some point I connected with the bishop out there, Edward Malesic. He asked me to do an interview for Northeast Ohio Catholic Magazine. Of course I said yes, because you don't say no to the bishop. So I was interviewed for a story, a hard-hitting story about where we go to church and my favorite pizza in Cleveland. I didn't realize every parishioner in Northeast Ohio receives this magazine. So I've become quite the Catholic celebrity out there. Last year I was the keynote speaker for the Poor Clare Nuns of Ohio. So today is very on brand. I'm available for any CYO banquets this spring. Please contact my agent. When that magazine story came out, the headline said, Faith, Family, Football. Well, we just attended Mass, and it was a beautiful homily, so that's the faith portion of your day. If you'll oblige, I'd like to talk about friends, family, and football. I walked through those doors for the first time some 27 years ago. If that seems like a long time ago, it was. September 1996. That was when Wawa first introduced the hot breakfast sizzly. Rodney Peete was the starting quarterback for the Eagles. Ansem Sauter was only 6'4" at the time. Things were different. My journey, my literal journey to the prep usually came via the R5 train. Got off at Suburban Station and caught the prep shuttle, driven by Earl, the rest of the way. We'd pull up on 18th Street, we'd pull out our wrinkled, frayed blue blazer out of the backpack, throw it on before walking up the steps. Mr. Kelly kept a close watch as we entered the building, seeing if anyone was testing the dress code that day, which would happen from time to time. Father Herb Keller famously said, "A belt is not a tie is not a belt." My prep journey really started in the fall of 1995 in the library of St. Catherine of Siena in Wayne. A man dressed in plaid pants did a slideshow presentation on the prep. Not a PowerPoint, an actual slideshow. It was the late Dan Brennan. I won't do the impression, that's Tony Braithwaite's territory. But Mr. Brennan made an impression on me, and the next thing you know, I'm attending a prep get-to-know-you type of thing at the home of the great prep family, the Ruggiers. And with that, a cast of crazy characters started to enter my life. Great friendships were formed. It's fun to think about the first time you met your lifelong friends. That night for me, it was Steve Ruggieri. I'm thrilled a bunch of my guys are here today. Dan Garrity, John McConnell, Mike Bucci, Joe Henley, the aforementioned Ansem Sauter. Some are live streaming this event. John Paul Mante is watching from his home in California, which is very appropriate because when we played against each other at CYO, he played for Sacred Heart Manoa. He could never get close to me then either. I remember meeting Eddie Turner by the lockers on the 2nd floor. Our moms were good friends from growing up, but Eddie and I had never met. He was the fast kid from St. Andrews with a buzz cut. Baseball, football, Latin extraordinaire. Amazing person and a prep legend. Speaking of prep legends, sitting right there, William Speedy Morris. In the summertime, I sometimes stopped by the prep on the way down the shore with my boys. We'd head right for the back office there, right by the gym. My oldest son is named Will, and Speedy has always been convinced that he was named after him. Speedy has known me since I was younger than my kids. When we were little, my brothers and I would tag along with my dad, and we would visit Speedy at LaSalle basketball practices. My dad and Speedy go way back, like all basketball relationships in Philly do. I vividly remember the time Speedy put us on the baseline as the team was doing sprints at the end of practice, and he told us to tell him if any of the players didn't touch the line. Sure enough, after the sprints, Speedy asked, and we pointed out that Lionel Simmons, the L train, didn't touch those lines every time. We were rule followers. We never left those visits empty-handed. Every year we'd walk out of there, each of us, with LaSalle hats, shirts, towels, and basketballs. Speedy became the coach here at the prep after I graduated, but my two younger brothers were able to play for Speedy. Sorry, Dave played. Matt had a great seat at the end of the bench. But seriously, I can tell you that lifelong friendships are formed and strengthened within these walls. There's a contingent, about 15 guys. We get together one day every summer. It's a fun day. That same contingent makes their way to Cleveland every fall for a game. Some come by air, others by way of Winnebago. I'm the recipient of incredible support from this crew, and it all started in the fall of 1996. Fathers and sons, grandfathers and grandsons, but ladies first. Let's talk about the women in our lives. In a room full of men, let's not pretend we could accomplish anything without some special women. There's a reason we call this place Mother Prep. I'll start with my mother. She's from a big Irish Catholic family in Drexel Park. Not Drexel Hill, but Drexel Park, as my dad reminds her. She somehow raised 4 boys and kept her wits about her. She now runs a daycare out of her house for her 7 grandkids that live nearby. It's a great deal for my brothers. It costs $0 a year. But it's very in line with my mom's basic job in life, which is help everyone. Help her kids, her grandkids, the stranger from Wawa. She's been the caregiver of older relatives late in their life. She basically has just helped everyone without asking for anything in return. My wife, Michelle. She remembers this place well. Like most high school girls in the Delaware Valley, she really loved attending the prep mixers, where the walls in the multi-purpose room would sweat. A wall of human flesh bounced in unison to the Humpty Dance. Frank Raffa still has the pictures to prove it. Michelle is the glue of our family. She is the director of family operations. I learned this from my dad, but there is no greater gift a father can give his kids than to love and respect their mother. My daughter, Juliet, or as my dad would say, my daughter. 8 years old in April, there's nothing like having a little girl. When my boys were little, they might ask me for ice cream at 7 in the morning, to which I would reply, I don't negotiate with terrorists. When Juliet asked for ice cream at 7 in the morning, how many scoops, honey? True story, we were recently in the airport, standing in line for lunch, I think at Wendy's. She said to me, what does BDE stand for? I looked at the menu and I said, I don't know. She said, best daddy ever. Completely melts me. Now some of you with older daughters are saying, yeah, talk to me when she's a teenager. To which I can tell you that I recently Googled, when can girls enter the convent? Apparently it's 18 years old for a Catholic nun, so 10 more years seems reasonable. Raising boys has its fun moments as well. My 2 boys, Will, who's 13, Gabe, almost 11. My dad shared a love of movies with me and my brothers. James Bond, Indiana Jones. He's very excited about the new John Wick movie coming out. He took us to the movies many Saturday afternoons to get us out of the house. With streaming now available, I love introducing my boys to the movies of my childhood. Goonies, Hoosiers, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I get to watch these movies and experience it for the first time all over again through them. I'll never forget the night we watched Dumb and Dumber together. One of my proudest moments, peak parenting. I think I shed a tear when my boys violently laughed at the scene when Harry Dunn throws the snowball directly at Mary Swanson's face. My dad is here today along with my brothers, my sisters-in-law. My dad, Ed, didn't attend the prep, he attended Monsignor Bonner. At least he didn't go to LaSalle. My brothers and I heard the Bonner fight song many times in our household growing up, including this morning. Similarly, when my kids were little, the lullabies that I would typically sing were Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, You Are My Sunshine, and the prep fight song. At one point, my kids were convinced that the day is dark for the phone. My dad has been an incredible supportive figure in my life. My brothers and I can count on his encouragement via text message or phone call every day. Sometimes that unique encouragement may come in the form of mental warfare. He once told me and my brothers that he wished he only had 2 boys. and none of us four would be one of those two. So thank you, Dad, I think, for motivating us to be our very best. It's really worked well. Your sons wouldn't even sit at the same table as you this morning. At no point before, during, or after my years here at the Prep did I think I would be a head coach of an NFL team. Maybe the head coach here at the Prep. Quick aside, Coach Gilbrooks, who's here today, my coach, had a huge influence on me. I'm forever indebted to him. He made incredible contributions to this school and the football program. And then to see how Gabe and now Tim have taken it to new heights, who have made this alum very proud. If my career thus far would have any lessons in it, it would be pretty simple. Do your job. The job you have to the best of your ability. Of course, I'm ambitious, and as a young coach, I've wanted to climb the ladder in this profession, but I've tried to stay in the moment at every stop in my career. When as an intern with the Eagles, I was tasked with loading the refrigerators with Gatorade, I made sure all the labels faced out. When it was time to carry the oranges to Franklin Field as an operations intern at Penn, I did that. When as a young coach with the Vikings, I had to go pick up players at the airport, I did that. Now as the head coach, I don't have to do many of those thankless jobs, but I did them. And I know someone is doing them now, and I appreciate that. I cannot do this thing by myself. I don't want to do this thing by myself. It's been a wild ride so far for me in the NFL. That is the beauty of sports, and football in particular. That ball can bounce in funny ways. I've seen a lot in my short time. I've coached some past and future Hall of Famers. I've been a part of some very memorable NFL moments. My first year in a position room was 2009, when I was the offensive quality control coach working with the quarterbacks. That was Brett Favre's first year with the Vikings. He took us to the NFC Championship game in a memorable season. I watched in disbelief when Case Keenum hit Stephon Diggs down the sideline on the Minneapolis Miracle. As a head coach, I watched my team win a playoff game from my basement. Not many people can say that. I truly don't feel like I've accomplished anything yet. I've had some success. I've definitely had some failures. You may have heard it said, you don't fail, you just produce results. I'm trying to learn from those results every day. I think humility allows us to strive to learn from those results every day. Anyone can Google my record as a coach. There it is in black and white. But no one on the outside knows my record as a father, my record as a husband. That job is much more important than what I do as a coach. And I love my job. I feel a very deep responsibility and desire to win football games. But I'll never lose sight of the most important roles I play. Please understand, I am by no means a perfect father, husband, son, brother. The only thing I can say with certainty is that I was a better quarterback than Matt. Coach Brooks agrees with me. How hard is it to hand it off to Pat Kaiser left, hand it off to Pat Kaiser right? And then Pat kicked the extra points too. With apologies to my brother Ed, who's a Archbishop Carroll alum, the Prep is a special place. No, that's not the Kool-Aid speaking. It's special because of the people. It's the students, it's the faculty, it's the staff. It's the Jesuit spirit within those people. My classmates and I were incredibly lucky to walk these halls with Father Keller, Father Sauter, Father Taggart, Father Machini. Some incredible teachers, Jason Zizishny, Tony Braithwaite, Miss Barbara Brown, Chris Rupertus, Paul Kenya, Frank Raffa, Al Zimmerman, Sister Woody, just to name a few. All of these people work to infuse this place with a spirit that's hard to describe, but unmistakable to feel. It's a spirit that I carry with me, and it's helped shape me into the person that I am today. So take it from a dumb football coach, appreciate your friendships and your family. As the poet Eddie Vedder wrote, I'm a lucky man to count on both hands the ones I love. Never lose sight of the role a special place like the Prep can have in your journey to become a better man or woman for others. Thank you.